This is a cowrie shell. To you, it might look like decoration, a relic, something forgotten at the bottom of a beach bag. But not long ago, it was power, it was wealth, it was currency. Long before banks, before British colonizers, before the Naira, Nigerians built entire economies without paper, ink, or digital apps. We have traded shells, metals, colonial pounds, and now lines of code. But how did we go from cowrie shell to crypto coins, from bartering yams to downloading eNaira? And why, despite all this evolution, is the value of our currency still under siege? To understand where Nigeria's economy is going, we must uncover the strange, surprising, and often painful history of our money. Stay with us, because by the end of this story, you won't just understand the history of the Naira, you will understand Nigeria. Before Nigeria had borders, before the name Nigeria ever existed, its people had already built complex economies, from the Nok people in the north to the Igbo and Bini people in the south. Trade was life. At first, people traded through barter, grain for iron, goats for cloth. But as kingdoms grew and trade expanded, barter broke down. What they needed was a symbol, something rare, portable, and respected, something everyone would accept. The answer came from the ocean, the cowrie shell, imported from the Maldives, Zanzibar, and the East African coast. Though foreign in origin, it quickly became the most accepted medium of exchange in the region. From Kanem Borno to Ife, cowries weren't just currency, they were culture. The more cowries you had, the more powerful you were. A bride price, paid in cowries. Taxes to the Oba, paid in cowries. A slave, sadly, also paid for in cowries. A single slave could cost hundreds of thousands of shells, a sign of just how deeply embedded cowries were in the trans-Saharan and transatlantic economies. In fact, some African kingdoms printed currency notes based on cowries, a kind of proto-central banking, centuries before independence. For nearly 400 years, cowries were the lifeblood of Nigerian trade. Even the word money in Yoruba, Owo, still ties back to that era of physical, symbolic value. But as ships from Europe docked on our shores, a new kind of currency arrived, one not shaped by seashells, but by empire. By the early 20th century, cowries had lost their sparkle. The British Empire, now fully in control of the Nigerian colony, was not interested in shells or ancient trade systems. They had something else in mind. In 1912, the British created the West African Currency Board in London. Its purpose: to print and issue currency for its West African colonies, Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia. This money, the British West African pound, bore the face of the king, not a Yoruba chief, not an Igbo queen mother, but a distant monarch in Buckingham Palace. This currency wasn't designed for Africans to thrive. It was designed to make African trade flow seamlessly into British banks. Cocoa from Ibadan, sold in British pounds. Granuts from Kano, sold in British pounds. This monetary system was the chain you didn't see. Africans worked, sweated, and traded, but the system favored the colonizer. The West African pound was legal tender here, but only printed in Britain. Imagine using money in your homeland that's made, controlled, and valued in someone else's. But resistance was stirring. Across the colony, a wave of nationalism was growing. Nigerians demanded self rule, self identity, and yes, their own money. In the years leading to independence, change was coming. Slowly, the pound's grip loosened. A new idea was forming, a currency not from empire but from the people. And in 1959, for the first time in history, Nigeria printed her own money.
1960 October, now the battle is over. This the date we've been waiting to celebrate. Nigeria is free. Balewa, free. Azikwe, free. Our law was a downer. Nigeria is free.
In 1960, the Union Jack came down, the green white green rose, and for the first time, Nigeria called herself free. But in the world of money, symbols matter. So even before political independence, Nigeria made a bold move. On 1st July 1959, the Nigerian pound was born. It looked similar to its British cousin, same shillings, same pence, but this time it carried something new, a Nigerian identity. Finally, Nigerians could hold in their hands a currency that spoke their name, bore their symbols, and represented their future. This was more than money, it was pride, a declaration that Nigeria could manage her own economy, build her own systems, and stand among nations. But beneath the excitement, trouble brewed. The Nigerian pound was still tied to the British system, using pounds, shillings, and pence. And worse, the economy itself was still deeply unequal. Oil was flowing, but so was corruption. Civil war erupted in 1967, shaking the economy to its core. Inflation rose, black markets thrived, and confidence in the currency began to crack. The war didn't just cost lives, it cost trust, trust in unity, and in the money people carried. But out of that crisis came reinvention, a break from Britain, a break from the past. In 1973, Nigeria said goodbye to pounds and pence, and hello to the Naira. It was 1973, just 3 years after a devastating civil war. Nigeria needed healing and a new beginning. The government knew it wasn't just about policies or politics, it was about symbols, and one of the most powerful symbols in any nation is its money. So on January 1st, 1973, Nigeria abandoned the colonial British system of pounds, shillings, and pence. In its place came a bold new currency, the Naira. Subdivided into kobo, Nigeria became the first Anglophone country in West Africa to adopt the decimal system. But this was more than a math change, it was a statement of sovereignty, a rejection of colonial relics, a name that echoed local culture. The name Naira was coined from the word Nigeria, symbolizing a money for Nigerians by Nigerians. It wasn't just new, it was ours. And the faces on the notes, no longer foreign kings, but Nigerian heroes. The new currency featured founding fathers, emblems of unity, an art inspired by local culture. Each note a miniature museum of national pride. As Nigerians stepped boldly into the 1980s, the Naira was strong, respected, and equivalent in value to the US dollar. Yes, one Naira once equaled $1. But this high wouldn't last forever. Storms were coming: economic crisis, mismanagement, military coups, and the slow decay of trust in the Naira. The birth of the Naira was bold, but in the decades to come, its value and its symbolism would be tested like never before. When money loses its worth, what remains? The Naira once stood tall, a proud symbol of a young, rich nation, but by the mid 1980s, cracks had begun to show. Nigeria's economy, heavily dependent on oil, was hit by a global shock. Oil prices collapsed, and with them, Nigeria's earnings. Suddenly, the government couldn't meet basic obligations. Budgets shrank, imports dried up, and inflation exploded. To stabilize the economy, Nigeria turned to the International Monetary Fund (IMF). In return, the IMF demanded painful reforms. In 1986, the Structural Adjustment Program was launched. It was supposed to fix Nigeria's economy. Instead, it broke the Naira. Overnight, the Naira was devalued, not once, not twice, but repeatedly. A currency that once bought dreams now barely bought bread. Trust vanished. People turned to the streets. The black market boomed, where the real value of the nation was decided, not by banks, not by whispers. As the Naira fell, life became a balancing act. Salaries lost values overnight, school fees doubled, food prices tripled, dreams faded. For the common man, money became an illusion. You had more of it, but it bought you less. What do you do when your own money doesn't believe in you? By the year 2000, the Naira had lost over 90% of its value. But even in the darkest currency crisis, Nigeria never stopped moving. People adapted, innovated, hustled, and in the coming years, Nigeria would attempt a comeback, introducing new designs, new denominations, and eventually going digital. The 2000s came with promise: new governments, new oil booms, and a growing hunger to restore the dignity of the Naira. But can redesigns, rebranding, and tech truly save a currency when the system itself is broken? In 2005, Nigeria introduced the 1000 Naira note, its highest denomination ever, meant to reduce bulk cash handling and reflect economic growth. It was more than paper, they were statements of stability, faith in the future, but Nigerians had grown skeptical. The economy remained unstable, inflation persisted, and in the shadows, a new storm brewed. By 2012, Nigeria launched its cashless policy, aimed at reducing reliance on physical cash. POS machines flooded the streets, transfers became the new norm. But in 2021, a bold experiment shocked the world. Nigeria became the first African country to launch a central bank digital currency, the eNaira. The goal? Inclusion, transparency, global relevance. But uptake was slow. Many Nigerians, especially in the rural areas, didn't trust or understand it. Then came the 2023 currency redesign crisis, a disaster that brought the economy to its knees. The central bank aimed to reduce inflation and hoarding and push digital adoption, but poor timing and logistics sparked panic. In a cash driven economy, when the cash disappears, trust collapses. From innovation to desperation. But amidst the struggle, a new generation is emerging, digital savvy, financial aware, ready to rewrite Nigeria's money story. The question now is, what comes next? From shells to silver, from coins to gold, the story of Nigerian money is the story of Nigeria itself. A tale of kings and markets, of colonizers and capital, of chaos and creativity. Today, money moves at the speed of thought. With a tap, a click, a scan, fortunes rise and fall. The future is no longer in vaults, it's in code, in clouds, in crypto. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum are no longer distant concepts. In Nigeria, the beating heart of African fintech, they are lifelines. But even in the future, we battle the past, policy versus progress, innovation versus control, freedom versus fear. What is money if not trust, if not belief, if not power? From cowries to crypto, Nigeria's currency has never just been about trade, it's been about survival, resistance, reinvention. So, as we ask what the future holds, maybe the real question is, who will shape it? Nigeria's money story isn't over, it's just getting started. If this story moved you, share it, let others see the journey we have taken, and join the conversation because the next chapter of Nigerian money might just be written by you.